I worked for corporate for about 17 years in different roles, capacities, and in different functions, different industries. All the leaders
Correct.
that come up, they are homegrown and not very well structurally curated. The only option for an entrepreneur to survive in this environment is to increase the learnability of the organization as a whole.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast series by Directors Institute World Council of Directors. I'm Priya George, and today we are honored to have with us a distinguished leader whose contributions have shaped industries across market research, analytics, technology, and corporate leadership. Our guest today is Mr. Deepesh Jain, a visionary business leader, entrepreneur, and angel investor with an impressive track record of driving innovation and mentoring future leaders. As the founder and CEO of Apsidata Solutions, he has built a global market research and analytics firms that operates across 12 countries. Additionally, his role as an investor and mentor in Steneral Consulting, Exarca Consulting, and Cibit Talent Corp has helped transform workforce solutions for over 50 companies in the US. Today, we will explore his remarkable journey, his leadership philosophy, insights on corporate governance, and the evolving role of ESG in today's business landscape. We will also gain valuable advice for aspiring entrepreneurs and professionals looking to make a meaningful impact in their industries. So, without further ado, let's begin. Dipesh, welcome to FaceTime with Leaders. It is a privilege to have you with us today.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for that warm introduction and for inviting me to FaceTime with Leaders. It's really a privilege to be here and for sharing my thoughts on some of the things that you would like to know. So I'm really excited to be a part of this journey.
Likewise, it's my privilege to be speaking with you today. So let's get straight to it.
Yeah.
Dipesh, looking at your remarkable journey from leading global corporations to founding and mentoring successful ventures, it's clear that your career has been shaped by bold decisions and a vision for innovation. But let's take a step back. And before the leadership roles, the investments, the successes, what first sparked your passion for business and entrepreneurship? Was there a defining moment, an experience that set you on this path? We'd love to hear from you.
Okay. So, Priya, this is one of the favorite questions which I always love to answer because it is slightly different from what you hear from other entrepreneurs and other leaders. And that's my belief also. So, normally it is being said, and very often we have heard from entrepreneurs that they have been passionate about building something, passionate about creating something, and that is how they landed up into their entrepreneurial journeys. My journey has been different. I mean, I never thought that I would become an entrepreneur at some point of time. I worked for corporate for about 17 years in different roles, capacities, and in different functions, different industries, and gained a lot of
Right.
experience. So all that experience somewhere was curating a CEO, curating an entrepreneur inside me, which I never realized. But
Mm.
then came a deciding moment where I had to take a call that whether I want to pick up a next job. I got fired in my last job because of
Okay.
a retrenchment drive which was going on, and some of the redundant leadership positions were becoming vacant. So that was a
Right.
defining moment from me because on a personal level also I was going through some rough phase. My father was on the deathbed, and I had to take a
Okay.
call that whether I pick up another job at this point of time and start building my repo into the organization, or
Mm.
you know think something else. So at that point of time, considering what I have gained as experience in my career and the exposure that I have to the business world, I took a decision to get into the entrepreneurial journey, create something which I have learned over a period of time, and then deliver to the marketplace. That is how
Right.
I got into leadership. It is not driven by the passion to build a business, but it is more, I call myself a accidental entrepreneur, but an accidental entrepreneur who has been well curated by
Hmm.
large
Hmm.
corporates and has seen the length and breadth of the organization.
Understood. Right. Right. Um, Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And so it's incredible how, early moments can shape an entire career. So Dipesh, building Apsidata solutions into a leading market research and analytics company across 12 countries is no small feat. And whenever you're talking about scaling a business globally, it comes with its own set of challenges. I'm sure there were moments that tested your resilience and leadership. And when you look back now, what were some of the biggest hurdles that you faced in this journey? And what kept you going through it all?
See, for an entrepreneur, every day is a challenge. Uh, the challenges don't come telling you that they will come on a X day or a Y day or after
Agreed.
a particular period of time. Every
True.
day is a challenge, and every stage of the journey of an entrepreneur is having challenges. Now, the
True.
size and nature of these challenges keeps changing over a period of time. When you're small and having a limited set of employees in your organization, losing a critical employee is something that is a challenge for you. When you
True.
grow, become large, maybe corporate governance and missing out of something, that becomes a challenge for you. So the
True.
size and nature of the challenges keeps changing with time, and that
Very.
is what exactly happened during my journey also. Uh, just to give you a few examples of those challenges,
Sure.
one of the examples was after getting into the entrepreneur and building a team of about 20 people, we were starting. So the most important person, the most critical person whom we had the entire operations banked on, decided to move on.
Oh,
And that at that point of time was almost like
a huge blow.
yeah, it was a huge blow for us, because the entire operations and the team, we were like not having an option of how we are going to deliver tomorrow to the clients. And and these moments, these challenges, of course they come with a lot of pressure, but at the same time they come with a lot of learning and the perseverance, the power of perseverance, that you have to sail through this situation. So we overcome
Mhm.
that, and we understood that we cannot be banking the entire organization, or having taking the risk of building the organization on one or two leaders or one or two
True.
managers in the organization. So we immediately got into action. We started doing some quick hiring and also bringing up some of the juniors up to the mark
Mhm.
and empowering them, hand holding them, and creating a new set of leadership in a short span of time. So that
Mhm.
is one thing, which was an early stage of a career where I faced challenges
Mhm.
related to retaining the key employees. uh,
Mhm.
the second came, when we were on a growth phase in Apsidata, and we were part of market research industry. But as a part of market research industry, we decided that it's time for us to grow and maybe have analytics. And analytics used to be a very big time at that point of time. Everybody was talking about it,
Mhm.
and we thought that let's take a early movers advantage and start building analytics capabilities.
Mhm.
That needed
Mhm.
a huge amount of cash for attracting the talent from the market. So we took bank
Mhm.
loans and we built a huge investment portfolio, and through that we created a large team of analytics. And we sustained that team for about 1.5 years of time, only to realize that uh, Indian market, which we were pitching the solutions to, they were not even ready for it. And on the name of analytics, what we were getting to be offered as business was something which was not sufficient for us to even sustain that whole team and do ROI on that business, get sufficient ROI on that business. And the result of that was we were almost on the verge of bankruptcy. And
Oh,
that was a huge challenge, because we had huge debt at that point of time with us. The
right.
business was not supportive,
Right.
and there was a challenge to even give the EMIs of the bank. So that was a big
Oh.
challenge, which in a growth phase we faced, which are much different
Mm.
from the challenges which we faced early on.
Right.
And at that point of time, the biggest learning came was that, okay, if we have to do this, if we have to sustain this pressure, sustain this challenge, then we need to put more skin into the game. And I
Mm.
mortgaged my house to create some funds and to ease the pressure from the
Oh.
from the bank from the banks where we had got the loans from. And we got our loans and debts restructured in a manner which was supportive through our existing cash flow. So at that moment, the decision we took of mortgaging my assets in the interest of business and to showcase our perseverance is something which helped us sail through. And today I'm sitting at a place where, we are a completely debt-free organization.
Wow, that's so inspiring. And thank you for sharing a rather personal anecdote with us. And it's so inspiring, and it shows that scaling a business globally is never easy. But your approach really shows the power of resilience, foresight, and strategic leadership. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Dipesh. Moving on, the US staffing industry is highly competitive and constantly evolving. Yet, you saw unique opportunities that others may have probably overlooked. So, through your investments and mentorship in Steneral Consulting and Exarca Consulting, you've played a key role in shaping innovative staffing solutions. What were the critical gaps in the market that caught your attention, and what inspired you to step in and build something even better?
Sure. Uh, my first stint with the staffing industry was way back in 2008 while I was still working with IBM. And
Right.
I got an opportunity to work with a startup which was focused on staffing, entirely staffing
Okay.
organization. So at that point of time, I didn't know that the market is going to crash. So I very happily
Right.
took up that role. It was a COO role. So I very happily took that and started working.
Hmm.
But in 3 4 months time, we all realized that that was perhaps not the best of
Perception.
the times to get into a startup, and best of the time for the staffing industry.
Hmm.
The markets crashed, and the startup that I joined that wound up, and I have to take up some other job. But
Right.
those 3 4 months gave me an insight of the industry and how does it work, what are the nuances, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities. I got a hang of it, and which I carried with me for next coming 5 6 years. I didn't do anything about that staffing industry for 5 6 years.
Hmm.
When I
Hmm.
got into the entrepreneurial journey and the first few years of Apsidata, which was into market research and analytics,
Hmm.
the next question was that, okay, what do we want to do next? We have
Hmm.
established this business and it's on a
Hmm.
growth trajectory. We have the right team, we have the right leadership in place, but we need to think of something else. And at that point of time, we first started with CB Talent Corporation. Now, answering to your question, what was the gap that we identified? On the
Right.
market side, if I see, this is a very, very mundane industry, mundane in the sense that, it works in a very conventional manner. Uh,
Right.
there are thousands of players who are existing in the market, and they all do the same way. They work the same way. It's a very, very Me Too market. So it was a tough decision for us that we're getting into a Me Too market. Would we be able to get a pie of that, or are we just going to be another player in the market?
Hmm.
But on the supply side, we saw some of the opportunities, and those opportunities were two opportunities that we found. One of
Right.
them was that the supply side was very, very fragmented, and the entire talent pool was homegrown. And there is no course, or there is no school that teaches you staffing or teaches you recruitment. All the leaders
Right.
that come up, they are homegrown and not very well structurally curated. But there are still a lot of passionate people who had grown over a period of time, and they wanted to do something very passionately and make a difference.
Right.
So the first thing we did was identify a couple of those leaders who were passionate about this industry, who know in and out of about this industry, and we started curating them as budding entrepreneurs. So I think that was a learning experience for us also, for me also, that um, uh, uh, rather than running the organizations, we are now trying to build the budding entrepreneurs by leveraging their skills, by leveraging their passion. So that's the first thing we did: leverage the leadership talent which was existing but was not being utilized in an entrepreneurial manner. So that was the first gap that we identified on the supply side, and we leveraged that,
Right.
and we created uh, uh, some of the staffing organization. The second thing which we identified as a gap was that all the staffing companies, they were picking up all the positions and all the requirements coming from any sector, be it
Mm.
tech or banking or healthcare, picking up all of it and trying to deliver on that. So we rather thought of focusing on a sector and a geo, and within geo also sub geos, so that each of the entrepreneur that we are building, he gets to focus on a particular vertical, a particular geo. And the
Mm.
result is that as we are speaking today, we have uh, five different staffing companies headed by different entrepreneurs whom we identified and groomed, and now they are CEOs with having huge stake in these companies. And so we ended up creating islands of staffing companies rather than having a giant staffing organizer. That is a different
Understood.
approach we took, which really helped us in bringing around the growth in a totally different manner.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay. So clearly, your professional journey, like right at the start of this conversation, it's clearly that your professional journey came with a host of challenges. And normally, entrepreneurship is often seen as a path of success and innovation and glory. But what people don't always see are the difficult choices and sacrifices that are there behind these scenes. So, thank you for sharing those examples with us. As a leader who has built and mentored multiple ventures, I'm sure there have been moments where you had to make tough calls. Looking back, what has been the hardest decision you've ever had to make, and how did it shape you as a leader?
See, challenges, as I mentioned earlier, also a part of life for an entrepreneur.
Right, right.
And the only way to overcome those challenges are taking some hard decisions, right?
Correct.
And that is what I have been doing day in day out. And I have to just, if I have to just give you a few examples of that, one of
Yes.
the examples, if I recall, is we had a client who was a major client for us, maybe forming a top 40 percentile of the client profile that we had. So it was a very
Right,
large client for us, but our contact
right.
point there uh, was a rude person who meant
Hmm.
work, which is absolutely fine. But at the same time, he used to be at times abusive to the team,
Oh. Hmm.
using cuss words, F words on the
Right,
emails, uh,
right.
not respectful to the team. So
Got
the
it.
first few instances that happened, the team brought this matter to the boardroom to us that this is something which is
Hmm.
happening and which is demoralizing the team, and we need to have a conversation with the client and tell them that this is not something which is acceptable to us. Uh, so we did that. We did the series of conversations with the client, and we had to walk the tightrope really because it was a big
Hmm.
client for us, and at no point of time
Hmm.
we also wanted to lose the client. No matter their behavior was not acceptable, but we still
Hmm.
wanted to walk the tightrope very carefully, and
Hmm.
and strike a balance whereby we achieve what we wanted to achieve without sacrificing the client. So we
Hmm.
did initial rounds of conversations with the person, gave the feedback, and trying to get the situations under control. And it got corrected for a short duration of time, but whenever in times of pressure, the person would again go back to his original
Hmm.
mindset and behavior,
Behavior.
and he would start using the F words and the cuss words on
Hmm.
emails, which was again becoming a huge challenge for us to explain to the to the teams that why should they be listening to it. And a point
Right.
came where we as a board took a decision that okay, our team comes first to us, and at no cost we can accept anybody abusing our employees. They're doing good job, everything is fine. They might make mistakes, but that's okay. But that doesn't give
Yes.
anybody a right to be disrespectful to them. So we took a
Right.
call, and finally we told the client that sorry, it's not working, and we no longer want to work. It was very very disheartening for all of us,
Yeah,
and very difficult for an entrepreneur to say goodbye to a client.
I know. I can
It
imagine.
happens the other way. The clients say goodbye to the vendors, but
Yeah.
perhaps in my whole career, this was the first time where we said goodbye to a client that, sorry, we don't want to work with you. We have tried to salvage the situation by giving feedback and working closely with you, trying to
Yep.
understand what's wrong. But sorry, our employees, my team comes first. And if you cannot respect our team, sorry, we cannot work with you. Very hard decision for
Right.
us at the cost of
Right.
business, but we gained a lot of
Yes.
respect from the team, and the team worked
Understood.
multiple times after that.
I'm sure. I'm sure. That must have been an incredibly tough moment, but hearing how you navigated it really highlights the depth of your leadership. So
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that with
I think
us.
just to make a point there, challenges come, challenges go, but I think decisions are nothing but the reflection of the value system of the leader and the entrepreneur. It is, it is not just an analytical decision, but it is also a reflection on who you are and what your value
Mhm.
system is, and that we stuck to our value system more importantly than the analytics or than the
True. True.
objectivity behind it.
Yes, you'll stay true to yourself and your values. I think that was important, and the spirit of the organization. I
Exactly.
think yes. So, the page with AI, automation, blockchain, and other advancements disrupting industries, what emerging trends do you believe entrepreneurs should focus on to not just keep up, but truly lead in this fast moving digital world?
Hmm. Interesting, and that's a very interesting question in today's context, because what we see as trend today doesn't last very long. So, but before I answer that, let's understand what a trend is. A trend is, let's say, innovation comes into the market, and everybody starts learning it. The industry starts learning it. The businesses start learning it. They imbibe it into their value systems and into their value proposition,
Mm,
and then grow it to become a cash cow at some point of time. And
mm,
then by the time they realize the ROI and they mint money out of it, a new innovation comes and a new trend starts. Now, that's a typical journey of a trend which comes in, and then a new trend
mm,
comes in after a period of time. And there's a time
mm.
gap, during which all these activities, the maturing of that trend is happening, right?
Right,
In
right.
today's scenario, the trend cycle is still the same. Innovations would come, they would get imbibed, they would get reap benefit from, and same thing will go on. But the rate of change of trends is becoming very, very fast, very, very fast.
Very
What we
fast,
see
very dynamic.
coming today, we started learning about AI, little to realize that Gen AI is coming. When Gen AI came, we started hearing about
Mm,
agentic AI. Things are
mm,
changing at such a fast pace. The only option for an entrepreneur to survive in this environment is to increase the learnability of the organization as a whole. So that is the most important thing, that how the entrepreneur himself and the entire organization, the entire team is having a faster learning, improving their rate of learning, uh,
mm,
and understanding how the market is behaving. That's the first important thing that
mm,
an entrepreneur needs to imbibe as a culture, not as one-time activity, but as a culture. Keeping abreasted is just that I'm aware of what's happening in the market, but that's not sufficient as an organization. You may be aware of it, but if your team is not inculcating it into the organizational systems, into the
True.
processes, into the value propositions, then that would just become like a news to you. And you would read
Mm,
another news tomorrow. You would be
mm,
aware of it, but you are not making it a part of your business. So,
mm,
learnability essentially means that you are aware of it, and then you
mm,
are also adopting it into your business. And that is where
mm.
the role of the entire team working on it comes into picture. So, that
Hmm.
is what I meant. Uh,
Okay,
and
got it.
so, but you cannot be learning everything. There is so much happening in the world today, so much happening. Even if you talk about just your business, there might be so much happening outside there. So it is important
Mm,
for an entrepreneur, especially in this environment, to stay focused on your expertise. Rather than drifting too much, stay focused on one thing or two things that you have expertise on, and be the master of those things. Journalist approach is fading away, and specialist approach is something which will garner way for growth. So that's
mm,
one thing. Second thing which I realized for myself is, we have been doing it very subtly in our organizations, but now it has become almost like a compulsion that we have to do it, and which is that the youth needs to be a part of the leadership. That
right.
diversity needs to be a part of organization. The youth, the women, and the lesser privileged, they need to be part of your leadership team, not just employees, but
Mm,
they need to be part of your leadership team. And
mm,
because collectively, when you have diverse people coming around, the learnability of the organization takes an exponential growth. and and the
understood.
and the learnability of the youth today is much much higher than what matured professionals would have. A matured professional understanding a new technology or a new way will take, maybe, let's say, for example, 10 days to understand it, while
Mm,
a youth coming from a good background and a good professional background may be able to
mm,
understand it in 2 days time. So having a youth, or multiple youths into your leadership
mm,
team, that actually speeds up the entire process of learnability.
perfect.
and uh,
Understood.
uh, and then third thing is, you cannot just have employees working in your organization any longer. You need to create a mindset of entrepreneurship within the organization, which essentially means that within one organization, you would have a subset of entrepreneurs who are budding entrepreneurs, and at some point of time, you might even invest in them to lead them into leading businesses. So these three
Understood.
things, in my opinion, are critical for entrepreneurs to understand, that the learnability needs to improve, the
Mm,
diversity and the inclusion of the youth into the leadership needs to improve, and then um, the culture of entrepreneurship
sure.
that needs to be built into the organization.
Right. Right. Thank you. That was a very insightful response, which is a great, and it's a great segue to my next question, which is, as you look ahead, Dipesh, what's next for you? Are there new challenges or industries you're eager to explore? And on a leadership level, do you see yourself taking on more boardroom roles, shaping strategy and governance at a broader scale?
My being today is a part of three or four things today. I am an entrepreneur because I have businesses of which I am a part of, which I've built myself. They may be managed by professionals today, but I'm still involved into some of the matters there. The second hat which I wear is of a investor, angel investor. I
Okay.
have a
Yes.
portfolio of angel investments and startups, um, and that's the second role which I play. Uh, the third is of a seasoned professional who has gained expertise in the last 30 years, uh, has walked across the bandwidth of organizations. So that's third me. And the fourth is me as an individual, my personal life. So I look at
Nice.
myself as being divided into these four parts. So for the first part, which is my entrepreneurial journey, most of my entrepreneur ventures, they are being managed by CEOs now. They have independent
Mhm.
CEOs who have been empowered, who are part of the board, and they have their growth targets. They are on growth path, so they will continue to be on that growth path. Uh, I would have more of a mentor role there
Mhm.
to play,
Hmm.
mentoring and empowering there. So that would continue the way it is. On the angel investment, the investment side, I am on a constant lookout for passionate leaders, passionate individuals, irrespective of at what level of organization and at what point of their career they are, who have passion to build something or create something,
Hmm.
empowering them through investments, empowering them through incubation. That is something which I have on my mind to do more. I mean, I've done some bit of it already, but that is something which I want to do more of in the coming times.
Right.
uh,
Right.
on my professional side, I've gained not sufficient, I mean, that's a wrong word to use. I would say a lot of experience
Yeah.
into the corporate world. which I feel sometimes now is not being utilized to the fullest. And that is why I joined this program of directorship also, that I see myself contributing to some of the external organizations where I may not even have stake, contributing as a part of the board member, as an independent director or as an additional director, being on the board of those
Mm,
organizations and utilizing my knowledge, my
mm,
experience, in the best interest of the organizations for their growth. So that's the third thing. And on a personal level, I have resumed some of my passions, which I could not pursue in the last 20-25 years. I wanted to play badminton, but could not play that. I have picked that up again, started playing it, got a coach who's doing coaching for me, and I'm trying to play some tournaments, going for some international tournaments. So that is on
right,
a personal level. I'm trying to pursue my passions.
right. So when you talked in your response about these four facets of the person that is Deepesh Jain,
Yeah.
uh, the word ikigai came to my mind.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and which is which I am not aware if you know or no, but it talks about these four facets and
Yep.
how to find your purpose. And so it basically is a Japanese concept which talks about how to find your purpose. One is do something which you're good at, do something which adds value to the world, do something which you absolutely love,
Love.
and there is one more which I cannot recollect at this point. So all the things that you mentioned fit into your ikigai, you
Good.
know?
Thank you for putting that structure to it. I mean, I never thought about that structure, but maybe very subtly and at a subconscious level, I'm operating
Yes,
from there.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. So that makes for like a more fulfilling and complete life, addressing all these areas. Yes.
absolutely.
Uh, right. So the page corporate governance has become more than just a compliance requirement. It's now a cornerstone of sustainable and responsible business growth. With your extensive leadership experience across industries, how do you see the role of corporate governance evolving? And what key principles do you believe every business leader should prioritize to build trust, transparency, and long term success?
Uh, I just have one point to say
Yeah,
on this, and which I believe very, very strongly.
yes,
Corporate governance, at least to my experience, it has been just a corner room activity in the organizations, that either the
right.
finance person needs to take care of it or the company secretary needs to take care of it. That has been the case, at least in my experience, that it's a tick mark activity that needs to be done
Hmm.
uh, from a responsibility perspective. But
Got it.
changes are happening very fast, and it should happen. The corporate governance needs to become more holistic and more
Hmm.
ubiquitous in an organization. It needs to go into the DNA of the organization in every activity that you need to do. And for that,
Hmm.
a lot of uh, speaking, a lot of talking needs to be done by the leaders to start with. That the leaders, the boards, they need to use every opportunity,
Hmm.
uh, talking to the stakeholders, be it internal employees or customers, talking
Hmm.
about it and reflecting that how important it is. So that's the first starting point. Um,
Hmm.
and then the building systems around it. If you're talking about ISO 9000 building into the organization, or if you have
Hmm.
internal processes or audits or anything else which is governing the operating of the organization, the concept of corporate governance, that how important it is, it needs to be imbibed into every activity. So
Hmm.
as I said, it needs to be more ubiquitous and more holistic, rather than being just a activity by virtue of which you need to comply to certain requirement. It's no longer just a compliance requirement. Should not be a compliance requirement. It should be the mode, the path to the growth.
Hmm. Right, right, right. And that's such a crucial perspective, strong corporate governance, and it truly defines a company's credibility and long-term success. And before we end our interview, Deepesh, you have joined Directors Institute, and it's a significant step for any leader looking to deepen their expertise in corporate governance as well as boardroom strategy. So, how has your experience shaped your perspective on leadership, governance, and decision making?
Yeah, I'll put structure to it, and I'm very fond of putting structure to things. So let's see how we work. You know, a typical way of delivering something is we learn something as a skill or as education. We learn something, and based on that learning, we take some actions which become a part of delivery, and that is how we become a professional. So we learn something, then we do something, and we learn some, get some feedbacks, build that into our learning again, and keep evolving as a better person with each cycle. That's a typical way of how we learn. And in manufacturing, it is being said, it's called PDCA cycle, plan, do, check, act, right? So that is how the entire learning and delivering system works. Now, but in some of the cases, and especially in corporates, especially in the work environments, not everything happens that way. You don't learn first and then deliver upon it. Many of the things are happening on the job. While you are working on it, you learn it. So while acting,
Hmm.
you learn a lot of things. This is
Hmm.
exactly what has happened with me also. I didn't know anything about corporate governance. I didn't know anything about what MCA guidelines are, what board of directors roles responsibilities are, what shareholders roles responsibilities are. This is something I have learned on the job while working for my own organizations, while working for other multinational organizations. I have learned it on the job. It's on the job learning which has happened to me,
Hmm.
not in a classroom. But
Hmm.
now enrolling for Directors Institute program, when I read through the material, when I go through the course stuff, I realize that, okay, I have done this. Any concept that I come across, anything that I come across, yes, I did that in that organization. So there is a lot of strong validations which are coming now to whatever I have
Right.
done in the past. And
Right.
that validation is on one side giving me a strong confidence that, okay, what I did was right. And
Hmm.
then also making me believe that, okay, if I am able to do this, maybe I need to tell this to somebody else also, or replicate it somewhere else also. So that drive also
Hmm.
coming to now deploy it more horizontally, more vertically in other parts as well. And that's the
Hmm.
drive for me to take it to other boards, other companies, whatever I'm learning and getting a validation of what I've learned in the past. Uh, I want to take it to other organization and make a difference in their working, make a difference in the style, and become a part of their growth journey.
Right. Right. Dipesh, thank you for this conversation. It has been truly insightful. We are very glad to hear how your experience with Directors Institute has expanded your perspective, and hearing about your journey from building and scaling global businesses to mentoring future leaders, embracing corporate governance, facing all those challenges has been nothing short of inspiring to all of us, including our listeners. And thank you for sharing your wisdom, perspectives, and time with us today. We have no doubt that your impact will continue to shape industries and leadership for years to come. So, thank you so much for being with us on FaceTime with Leaders and answering our questions.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for inviting me once again and for this wonderful conversation. And it was not just something which I shared. I think what you shared with me on Ikigai, I think that has again give me a validation of what I have been doing. So thank you for that. It has been a learning experience for me as well. Thank you.
Likewise, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and we look forward to seeing what's next in your remarkable journey.
Thank
And
you.
to all our listeners out there, change is dynamic, embrace it. Challenges are a part of your life, embrace that as well. Continue staying inspired, continue your learning journey, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of FaceTime with Leaders. Till then, keep learning. Take care. Thank you.